Hello, and welcome to Sparkling Wine with me, Dottie Champagne. I'm so excited to finally get this out there to all of you and to start sharing some of the stories and conversations I've been having with guests on the show. But before we get started, I want to make sure that I give you all a good overview of what's going on here and what our goals are and, what the show's all about. So this show is supposed to be a kind of forum for folks to come on and share their journeys through positive, negative, all of it. I'm reluctant to put too much structure or too fine a point on it because I want the guests we have to feel free to share whatever they think will be helpful to the audience and might give you a different perspective on what life is like. I'm hoping there will be lots of I'm not the only one moments for you and just as many moments where you hear about things you might have never heard about or might not have experience with. We're also going to focus in on topics related to mental health and self-care, which really is just life, right? I'm going to try and be super open and honest with our guests and with you about exactly how things are going for me, because for real, most of the time, it's not awesome. I'm kind of a mess, and most days, I hate myself, but that's okay, because I know that's also just lying to myself. I'm going to say a lot of things specifically about my life that might seem like contradictions, and I'm probably going to catch myself in a lot of half-truths and avoidance of my real feelings, and I'm hoping this will help all of us learn what that looks like and how not to do it and recover from it when we do. I'm going to try and not soften anything or keep things to myself. I'll probably hurt someone's feelings by telling a story or criticizing behavior. I regularly get called out for telling tales out of school or embarrassing my family by airing dirty laundry publicly because it feels gross to try and hide it when it affects me so much. So I'll preface this whole show by saying, I love everyone close to me very much, and none of this is meant to make anyone look bad or force anyone to change in a way that doesn't make sense for them, but it's also the truth, my truth. And if you've got a problem with that, then, you maybe should take a look at why the truth bugs you so much and why you don't want people to know things about you. I'm obviously going to try and be as respectful as I can, but sometimes I make an ass out of myself and I can come off like I'm making fun of someone. That's not my intention, promise. And most of the time, the stories are quite funny, so just get over it. I'm just trying to share a little bit about what my life has been like, and maybe it'll be useful to someone. And showing vulnerability and weakness or being honest about what you're going through isn't a bad thing. And if you've ever been in a place where doing that has backfired on you, then the people who didn't approach you with empathy and kindness, they were the problem. You, and yes, I mean every single one of you, deserve to be loved and safe and accepted in any condition you're in. We're also going to be taking listener questions in future episodes, so please send those in to sparklingwinepod@gmail.com. That's wine spelled with an H, and you can ask absolutely anything, whether that be for advice or questions about me, and if we have time, you can also send questions in for our guests. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Sparkling Wine Pod, and we're on Twitter at Sparkle Wine Pod. That one wouldn't give us all the characters, so it's a little different, where we'll announce whether or not we have time to take questions for our guests. So now for this week's interview, we have the fantastic burlesque performer and empowerment coach, Olive Von Topp, who joined me for a chat and to promote her new course, Fuck Perfect, Getting to Good Enough, which, if you're listening to this on the day that it comes out, launches today, on Monday, January 25th. It's also the perfect topic for the way things have gone with this episode in particular, which does have a few technical difficulties. You'll hear a few pops and zaps in there as we were both working with unfamiliar equipment. We're both also interrupted by pets, which for me is every single episode. Sorry from Duchess Mimosa, her squeaky toy is more important than a good podcast, apparently. And you'll also notice that this is releasing a little later in the day. I was hoping to officially start things off on a good foot with a scheduled drop time and all of that, but I decided that if anything, taking the time and being gentle with myself about missing my self-imposed deadline was nothing if not, perfect for the discussion. I'm not even settled on our theme music yet, so that might change, and I think that's okay. If you've got feelings about that, shoot me a message. I'm horribly indecisive, so feedback, totally good. I hope this episode and this show will be fun and informing for you. As we grow, things will only get better, and probably have more structure, and be even more fun. And I hope we can all do that together so we can make a show that speaks to you the way you want and makes your day fun and uplifting. So be sure to engage with the show on all the socials and support us on Patreon at patreon.com/sparklingwinepod, where we'll be dropping exclusive content and merchandise and all sorts of fun things as we go. So now enough of that. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be speaking with Olive von Topp. All right, so I am joined here today by Olive von Topp. So I would love for you to maybe give our listeners a little bit of an overview of what you do.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I'm Olive von Topp. My pronouns are she and her. I am a burlesque performer, or I was a burlesque performer last year, sort of, and and before that, and an empowerment coach. So I work primarily with women around issues of self-love and confidence, so that they can just have a more loving relationship with themselves and just a more loving relationship with life. And I also, I guess, I run some sex and pleasure workshops as well, and I teach a little bit in those. So I think that's it. That's my side gig, and then I have a little muggle job that's paying the bills right now. So
yeah, have you seen a steep increase at all, like during lockdown in getting like business to your side hustles and things like that?
It's been interesting. So yeah, not the burlesque, obviously. Yeah. I teach like a burlesque fitness class online, and that's been good. I think because for some folks, like timing, and just going to a place have been barriers. So having it recorded and being able to do it whenever they want is helpful. But obviously, like teaching burlesque and producing shows, less so. We've taught one class, like in person when numbers were lower, like COVID numbers. But in terms of coaching, yeah, I think obviously there's a lot of folks who are affected financially, but a lot of folks aren't. And, we're alone with our thoughts a lot. And a lot of the stuff that we had to distract ourselves aren't there. So I think a lot of people are doing a bit more like introspection and willing to do a bit more sort of work self on themselves. So, and I also think I was just talking about this with a friend today, like I've done in-person and online coaching, but I think now we're shifting where people are starting to think about accessibility more, and like online, like you don't have to be in the same town, and like you can do stuff online. So I think that's also brought, like, I have some clients in the States and stuff, which I never had before. So.
And so for the coaching and such, I'm just a little interested in like what path led you there.
Yeah, sure. How much time do we have? No, the shortened version. So I've worked, like my muggle work is in social service, sort of social worky stuff. And so I've always been in the line of work of, like, we'll say healing, so to speak, of like people doing personal work and overcoming, working on trauma and overcoming all kinds of things. But I would say what led me to sort of what I call empowerment coaching is I was doing actually burlesque privates and burlesque class, like teaching burlesque classes. And I just found that a lot of folks were coming not because they like wanted to learn the dance moves per se, because that can look any number of ways. It was more about like permission to be sexy and to feel comfortable in their bodies and to unlearn shame and to like work on body acceptance and all these things that actually, so when in these privates, I was realizing like, oh, this is actually coaching. Like people need more support around this, like, and there's an opportunity for it. So that was sort of the pivot. I mean, I've wanted to do it for a while, but it just kind of ended up coming together that way, I guess.
Fantastic. And do you find you get like a lot of clients from the burlesque community, or is this something that like has become more far reaching for you?
I would say there's definitely a lot through the burlesque community, because it's kind of the same. Like I said, like people are curious, or they're like, they might dip a toe in something. Or sometimes I have clients who will then try burlesque. Less so. Oh no. The cat.
Oh, you have a kitty cat. Who is this? Who is this cat?
This is Ella. Ella, Ella's actually having some mouth issues.
Oh.
So she's been sick and not eating, and to the vet, and is starting her jumping up here is a good sign. She's starting to feel like herself.
Very good.
Who's your puppy?
Yes, this is Mimosa. So she always records with me. So it's just
she has her own.
She has her own everything. Yeah,
like
I very much am obsessed with her. So I give her her own stuff, so I don't spam everyone with her stuff other places.
She's really cute.
Yeah, she's
Mimosa.
Sweet. But she's been through a lot too, so I get the having to take the cat to the vet and how stressful all that is. She's perpetually going through something. Right now it's itchy skin. Like,
oh, it's winter.
Yeah.
How old is Mimosa?
She's about 6. She's a rescue, so that's a guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at her face.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I guess this is a podcast, but she looks like she's in heaven. For those who are listening.
Yes, for those who are listening. She's tilting her head, and I'm just giving her ear scratches. She's very happy about it.
How about you? May I ask you questions?
Of course.
Okay. How are you finding, the burlesque and the lockdown and,
For sure. So, I mean, I miss it a lot. And I was kind of in a place before the lockdown happened where, like, I had just moved and switched jobs within the last year. So, like, I hadn't had the time to do a lot of burlesque stuff. So I was, like, just about ready to, like, okay, I feel settled in my new job. I feel settled in my new home. Now I can start doing stuff again. And it was like, no, never mind. So I feel super out of touch with it. And I miss everyone and miss doing shows even more so now.
Yeah.
Being super honest, like, I actually don't mind being totally locked down because I'm also a very private and lonely and like I like to be a lone person most of the time. So my other acquaintances and friends and everybody, they're all like, I just can't wait for it to end. And I'm like, I don't want to put on real pants.
I know. That's going to feel weird, right?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, seeing people's mouths all the time and like hugging people, as much as I'm super excited about that, it's gonna feel really weird to be like, I don't know. I don't know about you. I don't know if when you watch TV or movies and people like go into other people's homes and you're like, don't, don't do that.
It looks weird. Yeah, I know. I do exactly what you mean.
We can't touch each other. So I feel like I wonder how long it's going to take to unlearn that.
I don't
fear
know.
of strangers. And
I think we're all just going to be like those old people who, like, our great-grandchildren are just going to be like, oh, don't worry about them. They just they went through the pandemic. So,
they went through the pandemic, yeah.
They just wash their hands all the time. And
who knows? Permanent mask wearers.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
I do like the mask too, even in the winter, because like I also hate the cold, so I just completely cover my face. Like all of this, I'm totally fine with it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Just like, yep.
Yeah.
But I do miss people. I do. I don't want to make it sound like I hate other people, like I'm a horrible shut-in, but
yeah, some people are doing well. You live alone?
I live with my partner, so I do have one other human being with me, but we live in a very tiny apartment, so we're like kind of on top of each other all the time. He was kind enough to go out briefly to do like our once-a-week shopping trip while we were on this call, so I was like, good, okay.
I think that's what mine's going to do.
Yep.
So you got to be quiet when you leave, but yeah. I think it's pretty, it's nice. Like I have both friends and clients who live alone. And they're really craving touch and like companionship, but then also similarly friends and clients who are in partnerships, and it can be it's really challenging for a lot of folks, right?
Because like you care about the person that you're with, but at the same time it's like you do still need a little bit of distance, and it's so hard to get right now if you're living with someone. Like you just have to start finding your own things even more than you did before. Yeah.
Like who gets what room at what time. Like I feel I'm pretty fortunate. Like my partner works out of the house. And And so we get space that way. And I don't have kids, so we're not trying to like homeschool and online learn kids. And my heart goes out to folks trying to manage all that stuff, right? Or all the people who like kind of already like just highly dysfunctional relationships that were only sort of functioning because you went to your job, you had your kids in things or whatever, and you had your separate friends, and now you're like, oh, I hate you. Oh, God. Coming face to face with that.
Oh, at least I'm not in that boat. I do really feel for people who are just realizing maybe that this is not the relationship they wanted to be in, because I have seen a few like COVID breakups happen. And that must be so difficult. Oh, my God. Oh, we're getting squeaking now, too. She loves to do
what
this.
What is that thing? What is her toy?
It's a lamb.
Aww.
It's like it's a Christmas time lamb. So she, like, most of her toys are lambs and sheep for no real reason. They just all are.
It's pretty cute. It's like half her size.
I know, right? My parents picked it out for her. I think they forget how tiny she is because they have a bigger dog.
I had heard something that was saying like some relationships, or obviously some, but they were surprised research-wise that the amount of people who reported their relationships were stronger from the pandemic. Ooh. I guess, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I have heard of a few of the people who have found that as well. So, I mean, I'm sure it could go either way, but very few people, I think, are like, no, it's just the same. Yeah. I think everybody's had some sort of dramatic. How long have you been with your partner, for example? Because you live with him, and so that must have been like a...
Yeah, we've been together. We just celebrated our, by celebrate, I mean, like, I don't even know what we did. We probably got takeout. 8 years, I think, our 8 year, like from our first date. So, I mean, it was.
That's the same as me. Yeah? It's the same.
Nice. Happy 8 years. When are you guys?
September 24th every year. We only remember because that was like, we met in school. Otherwise, I probably just wouldn't even know.
What did you go to school for?
Theater. So I have a theater diploma, and we were both in the same program. So.
Oh, wow. 2 actor theaters in one house, in one small place.
I met him when I was 17 because I went to college really young. And yeah, so it's just like, okay, I clearly made a lot of choices when I was quite young, and I'm locked in now. It's like, well, I love you, but oh my God, we do have no money. Like,
yeah.
We're never going to have money. Okay, we'll just never own a house. This is fine.
I mean, yeah. I mean, who is going to own a house? Who's parents are
exactly
wealthy, but yes, theater, arts, same. My partner, well, he's a brewer now, but also not particularly lucrative work, but musician as well before that. So he's super supportive of like my burlesque and such, and generally everything is pretty damn supportive, but understanding as an artist and blah blah blah. But also, the struggle is real, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, having artistic needs for like both parties, especially, is really difficult because like his style of performance, my partner's, is completely different from what I do, because he does like, well, not completely different, but he does mainly improv and sketch comedy, which like I love to go and watch, and I would love to do more of it, but I just know that it's not like my wheelhouse exactly. So like when we want to try to get involved in each other's projects, it's like he also just isn't interested in doing any burlesque things or, you know, doing the type of shows that I like to do when I do the occasional theater show or whatever. So it's just sort of like, okay, well, we want to work together, but
that's tough. What kind of shows do you like to do if you're doing theater?
So like, I mean, like that's the thing, it's difficult to describe because I like weird theater. Like I like collective creation stuff and sort of avant-garde things, and almost more performance art than it is necessarily straight up and down theater. Like when we were doing like Shakespeare plays and stuff in school, like as much as I like it just because I come from a theater background, I would get a little bit tired of it. But he likes that stuff, and I don't hate it, but like he likes it a lot more than I do. So
yeah, that's tough. I'm going to do like some weird performance art stand-up, or improv performance art.
Yeah. He's a little bit more normal than I am, I would say. Like, he's a more normal human being than I am in a lot of ways. Jeans and t-shirt guy, you know? So
There's always one in every relationship, isn't there?
yep, somebody's got to be the regular human being.
It's true. I'm trying to think of which of us is the regular one in my relationship. I don't know. He's pretty, like, I guess we're both like into, dress up and like performance, I guess. Like that's part of it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's relative, right? It's like relatively normal.
Exactly.
Like
maybe we're both relatively normal.
Like he's still kind of a weird dude. Like honestly, this afternoon he was in the living room just categorizing all of his Magic the Gathering cards, and that's not a super like normal thing to do.
That's awesome though. That's one of my favorite things about burlesque is the people that it draws are generally pretty eccentric, interesting people.
Oh yeah, no, I've met so many just neat folks that have both become like really close friends and that are also just like people who I've met briefly, and I feel like I know them right away because they're just like really open and friendly and like
totally
so many cool folks.
So many nerds too. I love it.
Tons of nerds. Like, I mean, I would say like about 90% of the acts that I do, like the gigs that I get, are like nerd-based shows. Like and I know there are tons of like classic, whatever that means, shows, but I haven't done a ton of them because I just don't.
Same. Yeah, it's weird because I'm like nerdy in a not like cool or conventional. I mean, maybe that's an oxymoron, but like. So there's two other women in my troupe who are both like, they get each other's references about like comic books and video games and all that stuff. And I have no idea what they're talking about. And like, nobody gets my type of nerdy. It's not like, so like applying to like nerdy shows and festivals and stuff. I'm like, I don't really have like, I have, I guess like new, like neo burlesque, but it's not like, And I go to those shows and I love the acts, but I'm like, I don't know who this is. Like, I don't know, I don't know the reference. I feel ashamed.
So would you say that like your kind of nerdy is more like, well, maybe you just tell me, what would you describe your nerdy more as?
Like I like making an ass out of myself. Like I like being silly and like I like really eccentric characters, I guess. Like, I have a Dwight Schrute act and a Bob Ross act, and I like just being kind of silly in those. Like everybody knows they're pretty common folks, guys, men. So I guess I don't even know if it's nerdy. It's just like neo, but not. It's not like comic book or like any number of like cosplay type stuff. I don't
know it. So yeah, it's like it's just outside, like on the fringe of that, because it's not like it's part of a particular like franchise or like fandom, like you would say, or whatever, right? It's its own sort of space.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. I like you have a Star Trek act, right? And is it a particular character?
It is, yeah. So it's Beverly Crusher, who's the doctor on Next Generation. And that one came about primarily because a show I was interested in doing was looking for like female characters that like other people would find empowering.
Oh, cool.
Or whatever. And at the time I happened to be watching that series through.
Nice.
And it was just like one that I had like sort of in a way grown up with because it's the last one that my dad watched that he actually enjoyed. After that, he stopped liking Star Trek because he's like honestly a little bit of a crazy political man, and he felt that it got too political after that, and he was even starting in Next Generation.
I thought Star Trek was political.
It is. It always was. He's just ridiculous.
Too political.
Yeah, he's too political. It's supposed to be cowboys in space. And I'm like, I don't really think it is. I think maybe you need to look back at what that was again.
Didn't they have like the first interracial kiss on television?
They did, yeah. Like
it's pretty awesome.
He's just a silly old white man. I love him very much. I say this every time, but
he's got some thoughts.
Got a lot of thoughts I don't agree with. Just slowly trying to get him to not feel that way.
That's tough, but I mean, maybe that's part of the work that you get to do, right? Is like sort of warm him up to certain things.
You can make certain attempts. The internet unfortunately has gotten to him quite a bit, which I don't know if that's something that you've had experience with, but like it doesn't happen as much in Canada, I find, with with people, but like he's gotten very drawn in by like YouTube, Facebook algorithm stuff to the point where like, yeah, like I don't know if he's a QAnon believer, but I almost like suspect it. I'm like, it might be there. Ask the right question and then he'll say it.
Yeah. And do you want to know?
I don't know if I want to know, because every time I find out something new, I'm just like, oh my God, no. Like a really good way to put that in perspective is last time that I did see him was when the numbers were a little bit lower. He did come up to see me and we went and we got lunch together. And he didn't shout at me, but he like loudly talked about stuff at me for 3 hours in a McDonald's. Like,
well, he's just an old white guy.
Yeah, just an old white guy, you know, whatever. Just yelling in a McDonald's.
Yes,
that tracks.
Sure. Yeah. Does he live like far away?
Not too far away, about 3 hours from Toronto. So he lives in like the Chatham-Kent area, for people who know where that is. So it is more rural, which is where I get my accent. The little bit of one that I do have is from there. So
it's tough when like so many people I don't see eye to eye with their families, right? Or it's like pretty hard to imagine that you came from those people. Like how this, and you know, I know people who just don't have relationships with their families because they just can't.
Yeah, I know.
Find common ground.
I know like I mean I go through what I go through with my family, which is very difficult, but at least I still have some form of relationship there, and I really feel for people who can't. Who can't be with or have a relationship with their family at all, because that, for me at least, would be very, very difficult. And I mean, like, for example, this was the first Christmas that and I'm sure a lot of people didn't get to travel to see their families. And a lot of people had to have that conversation where they had to be like, I'm not coming home. And like, it was a tough one for me, I imagine, for lots of other folks too.
I also feel like, I mean, I'm going to generalize this based on my experience and my friends, but I feel like the baby boomers are also like taking weird risks and like they're like, I don't care. I'm like, you're the people that we're trying to protect. And like a lot of my friends' parents and like just like, or they just make choices that I'm like, that's a really bizarre choice to make, given that like, you know, you're at risk. But
oh my gosh, yeah. Like, I mean, I work in hospitality as a reservations manager primarily, and when I was like, when we had a couple of our venues open with COVID restrictions, like that's who I got all the pushback from. That's who I got all the difficult calls from. I was like, the young people are all being like, for the most part, very respectful, and they're like, yes, these are the rules, I will follow them. And then it's like, Ruth from whatever, you know, town who wants to drive 4 hours down to Toronto. She's like, I'm here for one day and they want to arrest me on the highway if I drive over there. I'm like, nobody's going to arrest you on the highway. You're all right. Just wear your mask on our patio and we won't kick you out. Like,
fair. Yeah, it's funny. And then probably complaining about young people.
Yes, very much so. Hey folks, so since we're a new show, we don't have any sponsors just yet, but I wanted to take a moment to remind you that you can subscribe to the show on anywhere that you get your podcasts. We'll also be posting all of our episodes to YouTube for those who don't want to have a subscription via a podcatcher, so you can check that out. But definitely check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And to remind you to check us out on Patreon as well. We're planning on doing some really great exclusive content, and when we drop some merch, that'll be the first place, and there will also be some exclusive items that end up dropping there. So it's definitely worth giving a check out. I also wanted to plug the shop that I have recently launched. That will also include a lot of lifestyle and self-care items, some of which we will talk about on the show. So you can go to dottieandtheduchess.ca or .com. And you can take a look at everything we have available there. It includes a lot of items that I have designed myself because I do some visual art, and we are going to be expanding that catalog as we go. If you're interested in becoming an advertiser, either on the show or selling your product on the website, you can contact us at sparklingwinepod@gmail.com or at dottiechampagne@gmail.com. We've got, all of our contact details listed on all of our social media as well, so make sure you check us out there. And now, back to the show. So I didn't ask the question I normally ask off the top, so maybe I'll ask you now. Usually like just do a check-in.
Sure.
How are you feeling right now? And you can be as honest about it as you want. Just like, how is your day sitting with you?
Oh, sure. Thanks. Yeah, I am doing okay. The day is going okay. It's funny, which I'll get to in a second, but so I'm launching a perfectionist course, like self-love course that starts on Monday. And so the amount of like confronting I've had to do of my own perfectionism to get it up and running and promoted and stuff is just like hilarious. So anyway, that just today I've had to revisit a lot, like giving myself a break and not being so hard on myself, because I didn't get I had lots of things I wanted to do today, and I slept in because I have this sick cat that woke me up in the night, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I'm feeling good. I've had a good day, but I'm also trying to be very mindful and be gentle with myself. That it hasn't been what I had hoped it would be, but that's okay. We'll roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
I am fine. I've just been in my house today. I mean, I always have way too many goals for myself, so this perfectionism course sounds like something maybe I need, because I for sure do that.
For sure.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I wanted to like take a proper long shower today, and I did not do that because I just had too much to do, and I would like to get at least at the time of recording, I do not have a theme song for this show yet, and we launch on Monday, so I have to pick one. So that's on my list, and today is like the deadline.
Sure.
So yeah, but like, it's just stuff like that. So nothing that's going to ruin my day or totally tank me, but I'm aware that there are like things
percolating. Yeah, I hear you. Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. Why don't you let us know a little bit more about this course that you're about to launch, just because it's coming up.
Yeah, so I guess it launches on I know it launches on the 25th, but that's when your podcast launches, right?
Yep, so it launches this Monday, so it's perfect.
Okay, so you can still sign up. Anyway, people could sign up after as well. It's recorded, but it's 8 weeks. It's a self-love course. It's for people who identify as women. You don't have to be a perfectionist to take it. It's for people who suffer or who really struggle with self-worth, and that sort of constantly not feeling like you're enough and being really hard on yourself, which I know everyone does, but some people it's quite debilitating. It's every week with sort of like a webinar-ish style. Like I give some coaching tips, and then we go through various topics. So there's like a lot of work on mindset around perfectionism, around our relationship with failure, around our relationship with shame, and as well as desire and pleasure, and our bodies. And we're also doing at the same time, there's some activities that are put in that we do in class or as homework, where they're designed to sort of get you more present in your body and feel your emotions and be able to access pleasure more, because pleasure is a very physical thing. And actually I'm also using like movement and burlesque to sort of, we'll be kind of developing or tapping into sort of our badass selves, of like the sides of ourselves that are kind of repressed or like are hidden, or we have this good woman script that we're given that I think it fuels a lot of the perfectionism. And so really we'll be spending a lot of time examining that, and then also like examining like who our badass is and how we want to live and what we want, and accessing that. So we will be doing a bit of burlesque as well, not a ton, but a little bit. Yeah, and there's also a couple like calls you can come on to be like coached as well. So if you're having trouble with the work or something's coming up, we'll do that. It's just a really great way to meet other people who are going through the same thing. I think that seems to be a common thing. I also run a women's group, and I often hear like it's just so nice to know I'm not the only one going through this, right? Because especially with perfectionism, we think that everyone else has it together, right? And everyone's doing everything and managing, and I'm the only one that's not, and I'm, a failure and suck at life. And turns out like most of us are feeling that way, and turns out no one's perfect. Spoiler alert. So yeah, that's the format of it anyway. Do you have any questions as I say that? Because when you have something in your head, you're like, yeah, this makes total sense. And
no, that makes a ton of sense to me, and it seems like you're hitting on like a lot of like key terms that just sort of like resonated really quick. So I was like, oh yes, okay, yeah, totally understand why we need this for sure.
Yeah. It's designed to be like a one step on a path. Like we're not gonna solve all of everyone's perfectionism, but really getting aware of our thoughts and how they contribute to that, and choosing other thoughts that are more helpful, so we can just not be so caught up and like struggle so much. Like it's so hard.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Beating ourselves up all the time.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Like even with this show, like I just kept trying to like I have a big long list of like questions and stuff at one point where I was like, I'm gonna make sure I ask all of these things as I go through, and I'm like, no, this is just ridiculous. Like just relax. Like, why am I putting all of this structure, imposing it on myself and whoever I want to talk to? Like, that's ridiculous. So it's something I've personally struggled with, so I'm sure lots of other people have as well.
Me too.
Yeah. So just making sure that we redirect our thoughts, I think, is a very important thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think too, like right now, everything feels really out of control. And for a lot of folks, well, everything is out of control, right? Like there's so many things we can't control. For a lot of folks who are like more prone to perfectionism, and a lot of folks don't identify as perfectionists. And then I list some of the things and like, oh yeah, that's me. But I think perfectionism is also a form of control. Like we're just trying to control things. So I think for some people, it's coming out more as we're in this. I know even for myself, it's come out a bit more, just being like, oh, you're trying to control your environment because you can't control anything right now. So recognizing it is really, really helpful. And then I can check myself and then, redirect myself, I guess.
Oh, yeah. And offering it like in a structured course setting as well is something I can identify as helpful, just because, when you're just trying to like, if you just read an article or something about it, then you're like, I'm going to do all these things. And then you don't do any of those things at all.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I think the benefit too of the course, like, I think there's lots of benefits, but of a course, like, well, this one in particular, like I've designed it so there's, questions, like we're doing work as we go. So like, yes, I will do some teaching of concepts, but it's lots of sharing and like there's worksheets that we'll do as we go. And then there's homework you can do. But I think for many of us, just carving out that time is like so helpful, because you're going to do, likely, if you come to the class, you're going to do the work. And even if you do no homework after, you've given yourself that amount of time to like be reflective and actually, put in some of the work. Whereas I know, like similarly, you can get a bunch of information and then just feel really overwhelmed by how to implement it or find the time to start doing it.
Oh, yeah. So. And I really like that you've said that, because like one thing I struggle with a lot, like when I'm trying to take a class or try to learn a new skill or something, is like I can give myself all that scheduled time for like the scheduled class or whatever, but then the feeling, the pressure to do the work afterwards can sometimes be a lot. It can be really difficult to make yourself do that. So, I mean, identifying right off the top that it's like, yes, there is additional work you can do outside, but like at least you've given yourself this class time is always, I love when I hear that from somebody who's teaching a class.
Well, and part of it is like, it's a bunch of perfectionists. Part of their homework is to not do all the homework. Like, I'm going to give you more homework than you can do, and you're going to choose. Like, it's going to feel yucky, but because, you know, probably what will happen for many folks, which I don't want for them to happen, is you do the stuff, you're like in it 2-3 weeks, and then you miss something, and then and then it's done, right? Like, oh fuck, I fucked it. Can I swear? I should ask.
Oh yeah, no, you can swear. Sorry. All good.
Good, because the course is called Fuck Perfect, Getting to Good Enough. But you know, I've messed it up, so I guess it's all over, right? And deliberately from the start, I'm like, no, you're not. We're doing things imperfectly. Like, you're not doing all the homework. You just like choose. You can go back to this. Some of this is stuff you'll have that you can revisit, or like some of it will resonate and some of it won't. And some of it you can do while you're brushing your teeth. So it's like, you know, not that hard. But yeah, it's hard to not do it perfectly. That's the hard part.
Oh yeah, like the number of things that I've like started and then not finished just because like I would hit one little bump, I just missed something, and then I would just be like, never mind, I'm not going to do any more of this. Like, yeah.
Typical perfectionist.
Typical perfectionist.
I can't do it perfect. I'm not doing it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like I've put this out there before that like I have tried to take like a university course or like class in college. I tried to do like a whole program online at one point, and it was like, oh, like, no, never mind. Like, I missed this one major assignment, and so instead of trying to hand it in late, I'm just not going to do it anymore, and then I don't finish the course. It's like that's happened twice. So yeah, like it's a problem for me, and lots of other people I'm sure have had that happen.
And university courses, college courses, they're like impossible. Like I don't know anyone, especially if they're taking other courses or have a job, like the amount of work and reading and stuff that they put into it, like there's no way you can do it. You know, like maybe that was my beginnings of learning, like, oh, I can, like, I'll do my best of like what I can, but there's no way I can read every single article, every single, like, you know, you do the assignments, you do whatever. But yeah, it is impossible. And it's so common, like you said, for us to just be like, well, I guess since I didn't do it perfect, I might as well not do it.
Oh yeah.
Or we procrastinate, that's my MO. It's like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm doing and I can't do it perfectly. So I'll just wait and wait and wait.
Yep. I have done both. I mean, I for real. And I own this, that I'm not the smartest person ever, but I'm not dumb. Definitely not dumb. And there's no reason that I should have been as close to not finishing high school or not finishing college as I definitely came. Like, I'm sure the only reason that I passed the English course in my high school, which I like to read and I am a good writer and I like all of these things, but I should have passed that class. The only reason I passed is because I gave my teacher a card on exam day, like to try to make her feel guilty that if she failed me, that I would be like, yeah.
Nice work.
I'm sure that's the only reason I passed.
Well, I think a lot of people, I think it's pretty common for really intelligent people to not do well at things because they can't, either they're bored or they're just so used to being like excelling at something that if they can't do it, they're just like, if they can't excel, they're not going to do it.
Yep.
So I don't think that's not a testament of your intelligence at all.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Probably related to perfectionism.
Yes. No, I don't think, and I'm one of those people who thinks that like nobody is truly stupid. It's just that things are not set up for human beings to succeed at them, generally speaking. So
true.
Yeah. It's a difficult world, especially right now, because you're very limited in terms of what you can learn and what you can do right now. But at the same time, I mean, like a lot of doors have opened up for people with all of the virtual learning that's available now. And
if that works for you, but there's definitely folks, right? That
true.
Like most kids are not, online learning is not their, their jam.
Oh yeah. Most children learn better when they're in an environment where they can like be tactile and move around a lot. Like I remember when I was a kid, that was definitely more the case. Definitely not now. Like I, as a grown up now, it's not how I learn at all. But as a kid, yes. So I mean, I can only imagine. Like I've said it before, and I will say it again, that I am not good around children. I don't know how to interact with them at all. I don't understand them, but I can get that much.
I get this. Yeah.
Yes.
What's she chewing now? Her toy?
Yeah, just on her toy. I think she might have gotten... Yeah, she just got... Oh, never mind. She chewed on the duvet!
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Cute. Mimosa.
Good job, bud. She was earlier today, like, she's usually so good. It's just, like, as soon as I try to do any amount of work, she's like, no. Gonna destroy something.
Pay attention to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's why she has to be in the room when I do these recordings, because she would freak out outside the door if she wasn't allowed in. And she knew I was here, like, talking to someone. Oh, my God. Heaven forbid.
Her mind.
Yeah. We just had a foster dog who got adopted, like, a week or two ago. He was way worse. So, like, at least he's not here while I'm trying to do this. I loved him very much, but he's with a mother now who will appreciate the chewing on the feet, I guess, while she's on the phone.
Wow. That's got to be hard, though, like fostering anyone, anything.
Yeah.
And then having them leave.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be hard. I was sad a little bit, yeah, but, like, now that it was harder when I didn't have a dog, like when I hadn't adopted one yet, because then my house would just be empty. Now I've got her, and like she's my dog, and then any other dog that I'm fostering is just like a temporary friend, and we just take care of them. And you're sad for like a day, but most people who adopt the pet also or at least the people I've interacted with are super cool, and they're good to like, they send you updates and they post things online, and so you can sort of see them. And so, yeah.
How does she deal with it? Like, she's obviously good with other dogs then.
Oh, yeah. She likes other dogs. It just depends on the dog. Like, she has had many puppies from her previous life. Like, she was a mother many times over. They don't even know how many. So, like, baby and young dogs, she wants to mother them very much so when they come in, which is super cute. But
it's kind of sweet.
If they're crazy, like this last one we had in, he just wanted to play all day, every day, would not stop. Then she gets a little bit tired. And, like,
fair.
Is not into it as much.
That's fair.
Yeah, but yeah, she just wants to be in charge because she is the Duchess. She must have everything just so.
And you think she's a cat.
I know. She acts like a cat sometimes. She barely barks. She, like, doesn't like to go outside. She just sleeps all day. She's a cat.
Other than the chewing, right?
Yeah, other than the chewing. But, like, I mean, I met chewy cats.
Have you?
Yeah.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. Not all cats, but I think some breeds of cats. Like, I had a friend who, all growing up, she's one of my closest friends, so I spent a lot of time over at her house. She had 2 Siamese cats, and they would chew on everything.
Oh, well, Siamese cats are their own.
Yeah, they're a weird cat.
Monsters. Yeah. Sorry if there's any listeners.
Yes, I like them. I love those kitties.
They're cool, but they're very, like, in my experience, they're very particular.
Oh, yes. They're specific to their own breed. They do their own thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we can sort of wrap things up. We're coming along to the end. One question that I like to ask at the end is just, what are you looking forward to once the world sort of gets back to normal?
Yeah. Like lots of things. Also, like, the things that you think you're looking forward to, I'm now like, will I enjoy that? But, like, for example, like, I would love to go out dancing, but with talking about my brain, thinking about like a bunch of sweaty strangers in a room together is like really gross. I mean, it was gross at the best of times, but it wasn't like
dangerous gross.
Yeah. It was dangerous gross. Now I'm like, would I like that? I don't know. And like, how long will it take me to adjust? But definitely hugging my people.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to, like, so in ethical non-monogamous relationship, I would like to go on a date, maybe. That would be nice. And obviously, like, I would love to perform and produce shows. I think so. Like everything.
So like everything, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I totally get that.
I don't care to like. I'm not like I can't wait to like eat in a restaurant or anything. That doesn't. I mean, sure, but that's not my. Yeah, it's more about interaction with people. Well, I guess it's all about interaction with people, but it's less about the opening up of things and more about being able to. Well, that's not true because burlesque would be open anyway. Yeah. The things. How about you?
Yeah, definitely similar. I mean, I would just love to have the option to go somewhere and do something again. Like, I'm a homebody anyway, so I imagine as soon as things open, things are not going to change very much. I just don't like not having the choice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like talking to people, like strangers. I'm, I guess, an introverted extra or an ambivert or whatever, but like everyone's still really scared of each other, right? So the just jovialness of sort of chatting up strangers isn't there.
Yeah.
Not that that will be nice too, to just be like not scared of everyone.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, all of that. So thank you so much for talking with me today. It was really a really great
Thanks
chat.
For having me.
Why don't you give us where people can find you, what you've got to plug coming up, all of that?
Sure. They can find me on the socials. I'm on Instagram is probably my most active. I have a Twitter handle, which I'm not really on, TikTok and Facebook. So they're all at like Olive Von, VONTOPP, as well as my website is olivevontopp.com. As far as things coming up, I have the course, which launches on the 25th. So when folks are listening to this, that'll be that day, right? And like I said, if you are interested and it's past that date, you can get at me. And yeah, I guess just kind of, you can see those things that are coming up. Like I am probably going to be teaching like a stripping workshop for Valentine's Day. I guess that's coming up super soon. And Burlesquercise, like the online burlesque fitness classes, I run those in 6-week chunks, so people we're like halfway through that session, so there'll be another session coming up. So all those places.
Oh, amazing. Okay, guys, so get at her then for all of that fun stuff. And I hope that we can have another chat a little bit later on in the year when things are a little bit more normal. Yeah. And I definitely hope that like you launch your course. Yeah, do it in person. Oh my goodness. To have another person in the room with me. Wow.
Lick things.
Yeah. All right, Olive. Thanks you
so much. Take care.
Thanks again to Olive Von Topp for speaking with me and for sharing so much. Be sure to check her out on all her socials and to visit her course, Fuck Perfect, Getting to Good Enough at olivevontopp.com. Link will be in the description of this episode. And that's it. Quick reminder to follow us on all the bullshits at Sparkling Wine Pod, Sparkle Wine Pod on Twitter. You can email us your listener questions and stories at sparklingwinepod@gmail.com. And support us on Patreon at patreon.com/sparklingwinepod. And you can find me everywhere at Dottie Champagne. If you would like to be a guest on the show, we are also still taking applications. So go to bit.ly/sparklingwineguest and fill out the form. Once again, that's wine with an H. So thanks for listening and stay safe out there, will you? Cheers.